A scientist put on a rubber mask, trapped 7 wild crows, and let them go unharmed, and made enemies that would hunt him for years. It happened in Seattle in 2006. The next time he crossed campus in that mask, the crows remembered. They dive-bombed him, screaming. Not just the 7 he'd caught, but dozens that had never been near the trap, all furious at one rubber face. John Marzluff, the biologist running the study, kept testing it. 1 year, 2 years, then 5. The crows still recognized the dangerous mask on sight, and new crows, born after the trapping, hated it too. The grudge was being passed down. It turns out a huge number of animals are quietly keeping track of us. Who's safe? Who's dangerous? Who, specifically, wronged them? And some of them hold that grudge for life. So how far does this go? The answer runs through a crow that taught an entire city to hate one face, an elephant that remembers a hunter for 50 years, a dog silently judging the person who was rude to you, and a fish that knows exactly who you are. Crows are frighteningly good at this. Their brains are tiny but packed, proportionally one of the densest in the animal kingdom. And a huge part of that brain is dedicated to one thing: remembering. In the mask experiments, crows didn't just avoid the dangerous face, they mobbed it, sounding an alarm that pulls in every crow within earshot. The bird that was actually trapped might be long gone. The anger lives on without it. Because crows gossip. A young crow sees its parents screaming at a particular face and learns, that one's an enemy. It never had a bad experience itself. It inherited the grudge, like a family feud passed beak to beak. Marzluff found the dangerous mask was still being scolded more than a decade later by a population of crows where most had never seen the original trapping. One man in a mask turned into a villain in a story crows tell each other. And they know your actual face. Feed crows regularly and they'll bring you gifts. Buttons, beads, shiny scraps. Wrong them once, and you'll get the opposite. To a crow, you are not a human. You are a specific human with a file. If crows keep files, elephants keep archives. An elephant's memory for individuals, other elephants, and humans stretches across decades. In Kenya, researcher Karen McComb studied how elephants react to the Maasai, a people who have historically speared elephants in conflicts over land. The elephants could tell. Shown red cloth the Maasai wear, or the scent of a Maasai man, the elephants reacted with fear and defensive bunching, far more than to clothing or scent from the Kamba, a neighboring farming people who left them alone. They had sorted 2 kinds of human by how dangerous each had been. And the memory is long. Older matriarchs, the ones who lived through droughts and culls decades earlier, are far better at spotting threats than younger ones. The herd literally survives on one old female's memory of who and what to fear. There are darker stories too. Elephants that returned to specific villages years after a relative was killed and singled out the people involved. Some of it is hard to prove, but the pattern keeps repeating. Harm an elephant and it does not simply move on. Now bring it home. Your dog is doing a quieter version of the same thing, and it's watching how people treat you. In a study in Japan, dogs watched their owner struggle to open a box and ask 2 strangers for help. One stranger helped. One flatly refused. Afterward, both strangers offered the dog a treat. The dogs took the treat from the helpful stranger and from the neutral one. But the stranger who'd been rude to their owner? Many dogs refused to take food from that person at all. Your dog is keeping a quiet list of who was kind to you and who wasn't. And it reaches all the way down to animals we assume feel nothing. In 2016, scientists showed that archerfish, can learn to recognize a specific human face out of dozens and spit a jet of water at it on command. A fish. With no neocortex, the part of the brain we credit for face recognition, it shouldn't be possible. But the ability to remember which face means food and which means danger is so valuable that evolution built it again and again in brains that look nothing like ours. So, is it really a grudge or just cold threat learning? Honestly, for most of these animals, the line barely matters. Whether it feels like anger or just memory, the result is identical. They remember what you did and they act on it. Here's the part worth sitting with. Animals remember the ones who hurt them because forgetting is fatal. A creature that forgives a predator twice doesn't get a third chance. The grudge isn't pettiness, it's survival written into memory. But that same memory cuts both ways. The crow that never forgets the mask also never forgets the person who left it food. The elephant that fears the spear also remembers, for life, the keeper who freed it from a snare. They are not keeping a list of enemies, they're keeping a list of which kind of human you turned out to be. And they are remarkably hard to fool, because they're not listening to what you say, they only watch what you do. We like to think we get the benefit of the doubt, that a bad moment is forgotten, a cruelty overlooked. With each other, often, it is. But the animals around us are running an older, simpler accounting. Action in, memory out. No appeals. Which means every creature you meet, the crow on the wire, the dog at the door, the elephant behind the fence, is quietly deciding which file you go in, and it will remember. Long after you've forgotten the moment entirely, you will be remembered by animals you don't even notice, for the one thing you did when you thought it didn't count. Maybe that's reason enough to make it kindness. If you want more questions like this one, subscribe. There's a whole hidden world inside the animals we think we know. We'll see you in the next one.